Okay class, now this is the second part of salt preparation. This is to prepare your soluble salt. Now to prepare soluble salt, there are actually two methods. Alright, there are actually two methods to prepare your soluble salt. One is known as the addition method and the other one is known as your titration. Okay, so now today in this section here, we will be focusing on the addition method. Alright, so thought process number one, we must check if the salt is soluble. Step number two, we need to make sure that we are using these three chemical reactions. So number one is the reaction of acid with a metal, acid with a base, and acid with a carbonate. Have we learned these three reactions before? Yes. Alright, this should be at your fingertip. This is basically acid with metal reaction gives us salt and hydrogen gas, acid with a base, salt and water, and acid with a carbonate to give you salt, water, and carbon dioxide. So basically, this addition method you are able to use to prepare all soluble salt, alright, except for your spa salt or your group 1 salt. Okay, reason being because all this salt, the spa salt, they are all soluble salt, so therefore it cannot hit the criteria of this addition method. Okay, so how does this method work? So basically, it's making use of the previous chemical reactions that we have learned. Alright, reacting with metal, alright, your base as well as your carbonate. So by now we should be able to determine which kind of base, what kind of bases are all this. All these are actually known as your basic oxide. Alright, so actually it's nothing new, and these are some of the common acids. Okay, so as mentioned, these are all the chemical reactions. You should be pretty well versed by now. Now, if we are able to choose a particular insoluble solid to be added to an acid, we would not want to choose metal. Why? Because some metals are unsuitable. Alright, some metals are just simply too reactive. Alright, example, your sodium, your potassium, and your calcium. The moment you add to an acid, it will have a very violent reaction. And some metals are very unreactive, such as your copper, silver, and gold. Okay, so this part over here, alright, actually falls back down to your metal reactions. Alright, your metal reactivity series. Okay, so therefore, if you can choose what kind of solid to be added to an acid, I would advise you to choose your carbonate instead. Alright, avoid choosing oxide because some oxides they are soluble and not soluble. So if you can choose the carbonate rather than your metals as well as your bases. Okay, so this is an example. Okay, so if I'm going to prepare a soluble salt, I have my zinc here reacting with my sulfuric acid to give you zinc sulfate and hydrogen gas. Okay, and so on and so forth. I'm not going to touch into this reaction. Alright, okay, so you need to identify the acid as well as the insoluble base. Now, take note, what will happen is that you need to add in excess. Common O-level question will ask you, why must you add in excess? Alright, so basically this is to ensure that all the acid has been used up. Alright, so this must be added in excess. Okay, to give you your salt as well as your product. So an example, if I want to prepare zinc sulfate salt, okay, I can have a couple of methods. Alright, first I can make use of sulfuric acid plus your zinc gives you a salt and hydrogen gas. Take note, what happens is that if I want to prepare this salt, I will break it up. The acid will consist of the anions or the negative ions, and the metal or the metal carbonate, in this case I can use zinc carbonate or I can use zinc oxide, alright, will consist of the positive ion. So first of all, I will add the insoluble solid in excess dilute sulfuric acid, or until the effervescence stops. Why? This is to ensure that all the acid has been used up. Okay, now that all these are your extra zinc acid, what will happen is that I will filter to remove the excess acid. So what will happen here, this will be your excess zinc, and then over this component here will be my zinc solution, meaning to say this will consist of my zinc sulfate plus water. Then what happened to all of my hydrogen gas? Hydrogen gas would have already escaped into the environment over here. Okay, and now since I've got my solution, alright, I need to heat until it becomes a concentrated solution. Alright, concentrated solution, or also known as your saturated solution. This is to ensure that crystal can grow. Alright, or test for saturation is over here. And then after that, I will let it cool to crystallize and then filter again so that I can get my crystal. Alright, so I say again, the steps basically is pretty generic. What is important is that we are able to identify the starting material. So thought process number 1, identify if the salt is soluble. If the salt is soluble, what will happen is that we will make use of this method, addition method, which is addition of an acid with an insoluble solid. And the solid can be in the form of metal, alright, carbonate, okay, or your bases. If you can choose your carbonate. That's it.